Green Nation, hold on to your hearts, because this was one of those victories that made the entire city shake. After weeks of doubt, criticism, and pressure coming from every direction, the team responded the way Philadelphia loves, with attitude, with courage, and with heart. With every play, you could feel it. The fire was back, the confidence was back, and the message to the whole league was loud and clear. Never doubt the ones who wear this green. I've got all the details for you, but before we dive in, make sure you've already smashed that like button, but only do it if you've been an Eagles fan for more than 19 years. It's amazing to see fans of all generations here. Some of you were at games back in the 70s, and that's just incredible. Much respect to you all. And if you can, drop this in the comments. Go Birds! My heart bleeds green and white. Let's fly higher. Now, let's start with this story. After 2 straight losses, the noise around Philadelphia was deafening. The questions were everywhere. Had this offense lost its edge? Was Jalen Hurts playing through something? Was this team truly built to bounce back when adversity hit? And then Sunday happened. The Eagles walked straight into one of the toughest environments in football. Loud, hostile, unforgiving, and walked out with a 28-22 win over the Minnesota Vikings. It wasn't just a win. It was a statement, a message to the rest of the league that Philadelphia's pulse is still strong, and Jalen Hurts is still that guy. Let's be real. Over the past few weeks, Hurts hadn't looked like himself. Even he admitted that his play hadn't been up to the Eagles' standard. The turnovers, the missed reads, the lack of rhythm, it was all there. But on this day, he delivered a masterpiece. Against one of the best defenses in football, against one of the smartest defensive minds in Brian Flores, Hurts went 19 of 23 for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. That's not just good, that's ice in his veins football. When the moment demanded precision and poise, Hurts gave both in abundance. From the very first drive, you could tell something was different. The offense came out aggressive. No hesitation, no fear. They went for it on 4th down twice, converted both, and took nearly half the first quarter clock before Hurts found A.J. Brown deep downfield for a 37-yard touchdown. That play, extending it with his legs, pointing A.J. upfield, and then dropping an absolute dime, it set the tone for the rest of the afternoon. Philadelphia was done playing scared. They were taking the fight to Minnesota. And then came the fireworks. A 79-yard bomb to DeVonta Smith, a career long for him, perfectly placed in stride, beating Isaiah Rodgers on a double move. Another strike to A.J. Brown down the seam for 6. And maybe the biggest throw of the day. That 3rd down shot late in the game. Pressure in his face.
One-on-one coverage outside, and Hurts let it rip again to A.J., who toasted Rodgers for a game-sealing play. That's the type of aggression fans have been begging to see. No more conservative calls, no more hesitating, just letting your best players make plays. But it wasn't just Hurts who showed up. This was the most complete offensive performance of the season. Brown finished with 121 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 4 catches. Smith added 183 yards and a score on 9 grabs. Combined, the duo accounted for more than 300 yards of offense. It was the kind of performance that reminds everyone why this receiver tandem is one of the league's most dangerous. Kevin Patullo's play calling was sharper, more balanced, with new wrinkles, Hurts under center more often, more play-action looks, a rhythm that kept Minnesota guessing. When this offense plays to its potential, it's almost unfair to defend. The defense, meanwhile, did its part too. Sure, they gave up some yards, 387 total, but the key was red zone execution. The Vikings went 1-for-5 inside the 20. 1 touchdown, 5 total field goal attempts. That was the difference between victory and heartbreak. Carson Wentz, facing his former team, never found a rhythm. He threw 2 brutal interceptions, one a pick-6 to Jix Hunt, who dropped into coverage and read Wentz like a book, and the other a desperation heave straight to Andrew Mukuba. That pick-6, by the way, was a thing of beauty schematically. 6 defenders lined up on the line, a disguised drop from Hunt, and Jalen Carter blasting through to level Wentz as the throw left his hands. That's Vic Fangio football right there, calculated chaos. The pass rush finally woke up, too. Moro Ojomo and Josh Uche each came up with timely sacks, and Jalen Carter once again wrecked the middle. Linebacker Nakobe Dean flashed in space, and the secondary, though far from perfect, did just enough to hold Minnesota at bay. Even special teams had their moment, with Xavier Gipson providing a spark in the return game after being elevated to the active roster. Small adjustments, but they mattered. When the final whistle blew, Hurts walked off the field and said it loud enough for cameras to catch. "We ain't losing no more." And that's exactly the kind of swagger this team needed back. You could feel it on the sideline, the relief, the pride, the fight. Howie Roseman greeted every player walking into the locker room, the atmosphere electric. Lane Johnson talked afterward about how the offense did some different things today, specifically pointing to the under-center looks that seemed to unlock Hurts' comfort in the pocket. After the embarrassment against the Giants and all the noise surrounding this offense, the Eagles didn't just win a game. They found themselves again. They rediscovered that edge, that identity built on resilience and big play energy. And they did it on the road, against a team known for grinding opponents down. Still, as much as this felt like a turning point, the question remains, can they sustain it? Can Hurts and this offense keep this level of execution when the Giants come to town next week, a team that embarrassed them not long ago? Because now, with the Giants coming back to Lincoln Financial Field, this next game feels personal. The last time these two teams met, Philadelphia looked lifeless, flat on offense, soft on defense, and beaten at the line of scrimmage. That night left a scar, one that the players and coaches have clearly been carrying with them. But after what we just saw against Minnesota, there's a different energy in the locker room. There's confidence again. There's fire again. And there's belief that the Eagles can take that step from good to great if they stay consistent. Jalen Hurts has always talked about being the thermostat, not the thermometer. In other words, set the temperature, don't react to it. And this week, he did exactly that. Every throw, every decision, every moment was controlled. The offense moved through him, and he looked like the unquestioned leader of a team ready to climb out of the funk that had been holding them back. His chemistry with A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith was electric. It's what happens when trust meets timing. When Hurts is playing loose and confident, those two receivers become almost unstoppable. And that's what gives Philadelphia its identity, balance through chaos. The defense may bend, the offense may stall at times, but when the lights are brightest, this team finds ways to respond. It wasn't just the stars either. Jix Hunt, a rotational defender turned unexpected hero, gave them a defensive touchdown when they needed it most. Josh Uche, who's been fighting for snaps, came up with a clutch sack. Nakobe Dean looked more comfortable inside, reading and reacting rather than overthinking. These aren't just individual performances, they're signs of a roster buying into the system again. Vic Fangio deserves a lot of credit here, too. His defense isn't dominant statistically, they've struggled against the run, and they give up big plays from time to time, but when it matters, they've made stops. Holding the Vikings to 1 touchdown in 5 red zone trips, keeping Wentz uncomfortable all day, that's the kind of situational defense that wins playoff games in December and January. If Fangio could tighten up the third down defense and get a little more juice from the pass rush, this unit can become dangerous again. And speaking of juice, the front office has a decision to make. At 5-2, the Eagles are right in the thick of the NFC race, but it's clear they could still use reinforcements off the edge. The pass rush isn't as dominant as it was a year ago. There's been talk around the building about adding another veteran rusher before the trade deadline. When you look at how this defense thrives on pressure, it makes perfect sense. Because if they can consistently collapse pockets the way they did in key moments against Minnesota, this defense can flip games on its own. Offensively, there's still room to grow. Kevin Patullo called his best game of the season, more rhythm, more structure, more variety. Getting Hurts under center helped disguise the play-action game and slowed down Minnesota's aggressive front. But Saquon Barkley remains the missing spark. He's not getting enough daylight, and the offensive line, as talented as it is, hasn't quite hit its stride. The hope inside the building is that as defenses start respecting the passing attack again, it'll open up running lanes for Barkley to get back to being a difference maker. One of the quieter but most important developments from Sunday was how the Eagles managed the game mentally. No turnovers, no panic when drives stalled, no collapse when Minnesota made a push. That's leadership. That's discipline. You could see the players rallying behind Hurts after every big completion. You could see Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce, those anchors up front, locking in as if to say, we're not letting this one slip. And that matters, because this stretch of the season is where contenders separate themselves from pretenders. The NFC is wide open, the 49ers look human, the Lions are strong but untested, and the Cowboys, well, they're still the Cowboys. If the Eagles can build on this and string together a few clean performances, suddenly that early season frustration will feel like a distant memory. The city of Philadelphia feeds on attitude, and for a few weeks, that swagger felt missing. But against the Vikings, it came roaring back. Hurts walking off saying, we ain't losing no more. A.J. Brown pounding his chest after the deep ball. Howie Roseman greeting every player outside the locker room. That's the heartbeat of this franchise, confidence born from grit. Now the challenge is proving it wasn't just a one-week resurgence. Beating Minnesota was impressive, but the next step is turning that into a streak. It's about stacking performances, cleaning up penalties, and sharpening execution. This team has been through too much, and has too much talent, to settle for flashes. So here's the question, Eagles fans, are you ready to ride this momentum into the rest of the season? Because if Sunday was any indication, the Birds might just be finding their rhythm at the perfect time. Drop a comment below, tell me what you think. Is this offense officially back? And if you're feeling that confidence again, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and keep flying with us. More breakdowns, more reactions, and another video waiting for you right here on the screen. And that's the thing about this city, it doesn't just want wins, it wants conviction. Philadelphia respects effort, heart, and accountability. For weeks, the fans demanded to see that fight again, that signature Philly toughness. Against Minnesota, they finally got it. The body language was different. The sideline energy was different. You could see it in Hurts' calm confidence, in A.J. Brown's swagger after every catch, in the defense flying to the football. That's not just football, that's culture, and that's what makes this team special when it's clicking. Players talked afterward about how this week felt different. The mini-bye gave them a chance to reset, reflect, and confront some uncomfortable truths. They talked about accountability, about how everyone, from coaches to players, needed to be better. And on Sunday, they proved that wasn't just talk. They executed, they adjusted, they finished. It was the kind of complete, collective effort that can turn a season around. Now, nobody in that locker room is pretending everything's fixed. They know there's work to do on third downs, in the red zone, in the trenches. They know consistency has to replace flashes. But this team showed that when it locks in, when Hurts is sharp and fearless, when the defense tightens up just enough, they can beat anyone in this league. And that's what makes this next stretch so fascinating. The Eagles have a chance to build something real here, momentum, chemistry, identity. That's how championship runs begin. Not with one win, but with a shift in belief.